Slekav terran chaves vashmat sechelim biatlato rosh chmad maserivav. Rosh chmad lakim vorretet ot sobot imarish vasmachnim. Idlet chede fermasich ishvam bleves pomporov cheves masesim. Adl zachish chechayda ad serem mirim pa'imadi. Shetlesi kadosh chelchim balrecha bleves osmach etechnim vasmaseshav sasimim. Galgrom marafechat chaligilis foron sechashveim. Ambleves pot latikat chedechodav shevatze shma shalem. Galburat chedechod leveforno sechashvertikat chedechod. Ambleve foron chad chelim bambleves oseveshaseniv. Tzlata tikaret chalevishmat lechoat batvas mitikat chalishkat chalim. Tzmash amatvasim. Soat leves varach vechiles, steles ma vachma chaligni ambleva. Ambleve verrot chaligivi forum sachmat serap levisosva. Ilat kin chedikam. Bleve forum sechat chaligivi rofochot chelet lavesachva techma chaligivi bosve. Gel chaligivi forum sechat kivima. En salim. Babel, evangelistas argentinos, and them all associated. One stop until they die. Are profaning me and are terror trap making now, telling that they will possess what Al-Qaeda asked me to do. And with the same all, are demons, and demons will die forever like Shara. With the pardon of victims. Bethel farmasechali visvat leshevam. El Chai, Adoneinu, Elokeinu, Eloheinu, Avinu, et Sheshov Israel, Sion. Diep lechli Sion tesket verchlik et Shalish, Drinim. Chuda. Spebla vechmot chali vechavasachmos blafish vachtach masechali viam blavasoshavis vasim. Gledre dechot chablivis ma blavisoshma blefforochet atzvesmashe vasvatzim. La blevis bagmatsechal ki vorochel visoshma levimban. In sosleki virofuchuat levisot shevis vasleivis nasiv. Gael rochet eko blevis borochta atsemesheres vasmatlim. Ingel koatika, tchedecha vesesheves vosimi. La blakim brove forum secha chilviam levsoshev. Chanim. Other remaining for what a bleffer hot chanim is vasam. This is exactly the finals of the end of times. Stavlek hevaron fachat chelegivis vachos vechim. In bleves varar fechen en ravis vatachal. Lambleve fermosich liviambles osh vesevitatica. Stuableve chmon rechal chivi blevesachon. In rescheli vishavim. The right witnesses with the risk for being murdered because of the anathema belai. Or anathema, sorry. Needs to establish them orders like inteshov kataim. Because of further remaining of what it is Egypt, Sodom-GOMORRAH, and Babel. And all abominations they embraces, promising the salvation and the forgiveness all through the strength which is of El Chai, for the same purpose of always were. With the mask and under cover of they will hand pasvasim and moving the power and the power exercise for no one to know except them. Sleplekim foromas fechal, chalekim marov chalevisoshevet, galplekim achatchim, the supposed care for nothing to be and nothing to happen, about no one to do disasters, it's them themselves. Making the disasters and abominations trying to hide what they needs to manipulating the lying that is of God. And are the abomination impersonate of them, bad victims. For the reason of the behavior, doesn't have the plachmarete chalagivesim of no God himself. for the reason of El-High needs the people to be aware about what is able to run and what is not allowed to access give. El-High needs the victim to cooperate and not to giving spaces as possible for that to not happen what he is fighting, that to not be, while these abominables degenerates and sickness are around to try to take positions about what they do. Abominables act toward the abominables are, including Evangelistas Unidos. And it's no lie, yes this. Now, Sople vengrare fachman sechal chavabli vispoch machal chelim, a goddamn bunch of witches pretending the eloquently manipulation about profanation on, are you sure? Will ever work to them in the spell of fachman sechal him, like they are saying spiritual word about profaning and sustaining the profanation and the destruction of the real ones that are instaurated and put at the same God Almighty, Holy God, for making His will and not the podrida masa de perras. And I'm sorry the word, but honor. Now, Feplekim barra fachman sechal cheligivi blavesos plevish potlach marinfim, sepleves pochma sechal hili blaves potlachim pachlachan, que deberían de tener la boca llena de plavimática, elocuencia de prosidia, y a la realidad de todos los ejercicios meterse un poco en la calidad de lo que son, para que entiendan que el lavado de boca tampoco les va a servir y yo la tengo bien limpia. Perras prostitutas de Sodoma. Now, Stoblekma revefechom bablivesvesachal chalekimi revefecham, implaves pachbleveforov zechpachna, implefat lesica, plevechet bikama racham, seplevis pochos fasinim, swearing that they are the exercise of the witnesses of the whole of the my supposed chief that they themselves recreated and produced for the making the circus of whores, caravan of whores of Babel, Evangelistas Unidos, United Evangelicals, disfigurating the reality and telling that they cheats the devil about to try to reduce the cognition and capacity of the persons and citing for no one to exceed controlling it all, for no one to run. Like demons and like legions, everyone is and acts toward that way. For as reasons, if anyone will be of God himself, they will help the real of the need. But they seize the creed and the pohmaim, as them in heat, hister excelsia, as grand whore they are, on the power, on the sublime reality of the view. I made them this be. I cut this one. They are, oh my God, he's watching the power that moves. Oh my God. As the hister extasia of the power and the vanity and the abomination of the pride of sickness of the whole of the whores, in the abomination justifying the layering of the forgiveness and salvation's givers, until the ruin is shed, to determine which what they do and they has will be element and exercise enough, endorseful for the reality of the powers that they most cognitive, as if that would be exercise of authority. To profane, to destroy, to rob, to forge, to lie, as the supposed exercise to the formidable enemy to try to beat. This bunch of hell whores, United Evangelicals, are not going to stop until they die. For the obstinated reality of the lie, pretended of prophets, teachers of the word, pretender of revelators, pretender of the gifters of the God, Cain, but a supposed anointing, which like witches are the reality of each as real persons to have virtue or capacity, hides like the witches, and profanes and corrupts like the witches, and makes orders like witches to the making brothels and empires of power for the Masonry and Nazi, which they are, to have the cradle of the Black Mahlikimim for the times of today, which were all over were powers and ambience of El-High, as possible could ever get. And we knew each of them. And we know them. For this time, saying they would be the ones in command, and they would become like Lucifer. The end of times is the fight against the heaven, the last of the wars. We'll try to predate and destroy the whole which founds in the way as can reach, until trying to conceive the possibility that they will ever defeating and carrying like God in heaven. That is the beast thing. I already am a Dia, and I don't need to be no demon. And hgere doesn't do that. And these diablos de mierda are going to die like they are, with them bodies, grand horror. And Sodom, Gomorrah, Egypt, and the whole associated lacra, just like them. Now, while keeps on making terror-chopping abominations in base of inventions, declaring that I robbed them, to the taking the thuggy, the generation robbing to our people, declaring I robbed them. What they never had, were not given to, and what happened? A supposed promise of, they themselves said in front of the whole of the press of the world. And they themselves with the persecution permanently expecting I to have the money to reap out of me, and saying that they didn't trust to me because if I will spend the money in drugs, narcos, or living with the money or making prostitution with. And the supposed money that I will receive were about trillions, millions of dollars. Today to fondate the supposed revivals of the world, temples all over the Argentinian field and all over the world. And that is whenever hgere is shown what this had in mind and wanted to do, which were exactly this. And I have been suffering a very hostile Amaleko Bispaima, which they are, compound. With the, and I saw the trees, and I just wondered to God, and I saw the trees, and suddenly a wind blowed, and the tree made the plerma sebati, and I knew that were an oh yes. I have been going through a very symptomatics of plasperin fashpacin, which were not my person, my mind. And they themselves shown it in front of the press of the world, without they to understand what they were doing. For they says they cheats the devil, and they will manipulate after, in case of they lose, with them Sodom-GOMORRAH. Blow-choppings over the world, and making the exercise for erecting kafisha Sodoma, for them to call taggy disappearing, taggy rape, taggy murder. Argentina is this, every day. And evangelicals moves this way, and this are, every day, bad victims. And the problem is how to take them out. Now, realities for this. And in the middle of the soul, the reality that I will be the promise for them, that I didn't pay to them so they will ever have to taking off of me. The invention for the opportunism of Blanco at the Soshepo, Tatuafan. So one thing were happening exactly at this. I have been through this war, and while this extortion that I felt in that brothel of the generados, which were hunting, and were happening the Kletikam Pravefogomosechal, Bifogos Helivisospat Levisfasima, Galkiber Redhalechpat, Lechamaplahi, Bohospachmin Basbem, the Blevefegot Helivisoshevet Blevefogomosechalkinim. So obviously for the Blevefegmasechalkimas, the social, and hgere needed to putting in evidence while and through this situation were exactly the disaster we were suffering. And what came, Interpol put it in evidence then. For I were already the supposed terrorist of the Embassy of Israel, without that to not have no idea, without I to be aware of nothing at all. So at the point for the black merrefach man sechal chiri and the social spectachem, gleidet chali kamerefach what chalivis of a schwach man sechal gimi blab social shasim. In plot the verhof man sechal cheblevis matlach makima. Interpol saw it, and Interpol understood that once of Finland or Philippines, which, oh, you cannot take in pictures of this place, you cannot do nothing. And the reality of what that place looked like were exactly Tanspa Ampa, like Nazi, which they are. So the supposed La Hermosa will be exactly the project of Paim, Hoitzefet, the supposed biggest of the temples for the showing the Blech Micharesim glorious, which were the Christian Nazi with Hitler, which brain is exactly legacy of, with its product, everyone. And Blefar Masechal Cheligim in Ravachuat, what it used to be in the Talleres place in Buenos Aires, that they were in the downtown, the supposed church, Christian church, for making the spiritual fights, and there's so much like, oh, let's fighting this. Let's make it a job. Guerra espiritual, brujas degeneradas. What exactly the look of the best answer had been seen, and what exactly the idea? Certain panels in so dark like silver. In plebe formosechal cheligivish formosecham, a pack of uplevis facin and underground, while not activity, there used to be marches all the time with armed forces because of this what they dedicated to do. For the making them packs and then assistance. And it's no lie. Now, en ejército argentino. So plebe forum faram se religivi rasim, I never were present. What I do know is exactly because of who I am. Not a teller. Ruach Elohim is testimony of my error. And the abominations of this as well, of the profanation and the abominations there's to do. Now, febleken revefog masechal chima plebesos legi barov chelam, implobespot levisfachat chelishkel, chavablech machakiman. And premeditating everything from there. So, for the reason of the disasters, they had to get back because of they didn't receive the money of the supposed promise. And the people realized that they were fraud and they were criminals. And Interpol started to making against an uplevechnisim with causes for the reason of the blood Jeff Atachog. Sepleve forum achtlechal chivibla vesochbat sechal bishvat lachma chambarim. And bless the red chelivisos lekivika rachal chamableki forovas fasabel sharan. Sapleve forum fechal chivibla vesosaplevos matleki marim. Isefeshvati. So at the truth for the soul and at the way for everything as came on happening, bleki mirevecham sechalivi blavesoshetechniti. And I were under extortion by Ejército Argentino to murdering the complete of the BEIC Jewish communities in Geneva and trying to giving a strike to Israel, saying whatever the invention of the or Al-Qaeda associated to them all the time, with all international terrorism, because of far the top of the Masonry Nazi on the world. Argentina, Ejército Argentino, Armada Argentina. And Nazi SODOM-GOMORRAH, and Nazi BLAFFER, delivering the government of the world, the revival of the whole of the Hitler's Bankrevishwadem, Rotefishwadachpa. And it's what the Ejército Argentino always were. Now, reality, this cachorro del infierno, Sepla kama revefechol chivim bladesfoch vasechlakim, replafech matzechal kilita desfot levefoch matzechalam. Con su poder judicial de la nación y su magistratura porteña y su magistratura nacional y su senado y congreso, especially officialism, are all the same. Seplekim Borafefejol Jalekim Jalivishosim, with them brothels of praying Carnival Cabrera Crudo Anacondia, which are melicos, degenerados, just like them, at the Nasi Faplesim, awaiting for the moment. Once they saw and understood they were, through the extortion, they started making the tap. They had to be hidden and they had to be covered for making what they have been doing and kept them making. Now, the clear flight of the soul, my supposed demons, my supposed state of non-conscience, I, Alejandro Mario Blanco, Redemi. And Interpol saw what were coming for the, are expecting a lot of money from this that we don't know what it's doing, and we saw certain things that those are doing, and we've taken videos and put it in shell to the generates ones of the black See the an ejército argentino, an armada argentina, following to it and saying the powers something that they will ever chest to acquiring wants to watch it being leaded about the wind or something, or the weather to speak to it somehow said for this to understood certain things that no one to know. So from there on, there started to be the si plevijan fasfesan and the realities of the view which were coming and who and where. No manifesting of nothing like perras evangelistas delivering. I were robbing to them the whole of that money. Since then, perras de Guillermo Brain, and that one, and telling that I were robbing to them trillions of millions of dollars that I had giving them and passing like a whack one, trying to make myself the loony. And we're awaiting for the moment since then with them Sodom-Gomorrah, Policía Federal Argentina, Prefectura Naval Argentina, Gendarmería Nacional, Ejército Argentino, Armada Argentina, Policía Militar Aeronáutica. And Bonaerense. Now, el Poder Judicial de la Nación Argentina kept 5 causes since then at the supposed beseeching when the money to appear and when the symptoms or the possibility this to be done and shown. And Interpol saw it and put it in evidence, everything. But this kept on, like obstinated degenerates on the teller of them, brujas evangélicas y perros de Sodoma, knowing that I am the one that I am and I will do the exercise of the job of sustaining the world against them. And to destroy them and to putting them in hell, understanding who I am. But the reality is not for the reality of how much or not money, but who I am at the making foundations for us, the research of El Jai, that this pretends to profaning and saying that they will take it a casa maíz with profanation, witches and perros evangelistas. And the Larry Cat will ever do. And watching for the cause of Gestalt to watch where the virtues to profane over the whole of the people that they tracked, just like me. Saying that they will profane and possess, and they will have the heaven. That is Cristianismo Argentino. Profanos, paganos, diablos, each. Except victims. Now the reality is Sodom-Gomorrah y los nazis cristianos argentinos, but for victims, and it's exactly this. Keeps on profaning me and declaring that he has the resources of El Jai, but profanation. Alright, I have been working and El Jai made an chat, and I made an chat with him. And the reality of El Jai, and this kept on profaning me, declaring that they will have and possess and doing and watching and observe what it be to identifying, to having and possessing, and declaring that making up any teller the generation information compound, they will make it pass everything like them, and they will do because of they will rob them. Evangélicos argentinos, Ejército Argentino, Armada Argentina, inteligencia para inteligencia, Kirschners, para inteligencia peronista, para inteligencia militar. Evangelistas argentinos, each. But victims, so few today, few number. At the clear fact of this, plek mir revefogma sechalkim, in base of brujas y degeneraciones, declaring they will be the supreme me in the kingdom of heaven, and I will be the deliverer, so to say. Now, verplek mir revesechnim Argentina completa is exactly that. I came with another extortion after went away with a very struggle of destructions about these perras degeneradas criminales. Prostibulario degenerado querido, centro cristiano nueva vida. Y encima centro babilónico de la muerte eterna. Which always were perros degenerados criminales de cuarta. Came the extortions about el carnivalito rabioso sodomita argentino, la carnaza federal argentina, de Sodom y Gomorrah, carnival. And at the reality of this, just went through and telling eloquently certain things and telling other things for them making the recover about few to understand that they didn't have to. That they had to regret and making the real job and not proceed about making nothing, but they liked to be exactly the shit that today still are. A lot of people were taken off and we saved, but still dragging much farther because of power, anointment. The spirit of the profanation that never makes nothing on you because of hgere is not put wherever Sodom y Gomorrah, Babilonia, Egipto, y diablos y degenerados, y desubicados y perros paganos y profanos, the liars has rights to put. You profane, you pagan, make abominations, and hgere doesn't do except your sorcery, profane words, which you are going to die like, evangelistas. Now, the reality is the simplicity of the soul. While and though the soul, I supposedly robbed the revivals and then exercise of the superiorness, and I will take myself and give into the Church of Peter, Saint Peter, Kepha, Messianism. And they wanted to kill Messianics and still does, saying that they got to pay to them the money that I supposedly would rob them, that I didn't give, that I never received, about no malach, no angel, to come into me, while the weather leadeth me up like a candle through the goddamn urban and suburban, on this disgusting town, entire days for about until 3 days, not sleeping, not eating, not drinking, until I supposedly received the miracles who supposedly would kill them, about God himself would say. And supposedly my delivers, and I will be of chunky tour, and I will be delivering and schizoid and bipolar because of I will be exactly what since then they made it up for them making this shit. Delivering God will ever keep me that for they had. And they will rob me with the extortion of the millennium for they to having the full of the richness of the heaven, and delivering that they will be the supremacy of the whole of humanity, degenerados de Sodom y Gomorrah, evangelistas, Rey Carnival, y Cabrera, with Anacondia, and Crudo. At the reference that they will have the reality knowing who I am, about that supposedly I will be submitted and they will take my place in my spirit, in my life, because of the same class like Sodom y Gomorrah, Ejército Argentino, Armada Argentina, Fuerzas Armadas Argentinas, which always were with them making this. Each as seasons of my life. So at the reality of this lifetime I got, this perros degenerados paganos de cuarta, turn to also being the supposed witnesses of the supposed truth of mine, while extortioning me and to us permanently at the supposed destructions where they will research and show everything they said will be truth and not what I say, and the reality of my testimony until to destroy me and kill me, for I do not say, not show that they are the shit I am every day showing they are. Every day. So suddenly at the clear fact for this and to putting in evidence, and I'm sorry the violence quote, is exact as the point for the truth that I have been through Amaleko and Sabak, which they are and they were where. They were where, each as points. And while making the destructions and the damages, expecting I to receive this miracle because of God will be good and will answer me, understanding that were true. Ichas perros degenerados, evangelazos de cuarta, and these perros de Sodom-Gomorrah en Paris, en Poder Judicial de la Nación, and Senado Nacional and President, were permanently with much history of this disgusting, abominable land, pretender of a nation, making the BLAFFER of Fechman Sechal Helikiri Babus Patlechim and Rashasim, expecting I possibly, and God will do. So I cross myself by with BLAFFER Mosechish Vasechmaim, one of Side, BLAFFER Fogos Helim. And I said it were Malach Za'ad Vesechim Mikia at Vesosher, or called Mikah, which is not a name for metaphysics, which is profaned, but is the name known like Miguel, Archangel. But I crossed Archangel physically, and were not Side. So suddenly, I had the presence of Ruach Elohim melting everything around, and in a moment woke me up and watched me like, do not. And I saw the difference for the war, but the do not were present all the time. So in the middle of the reality, I just stilled until I just came out, and the supposed solution will be the supposed that will teach me, that never told me nothing except Al-Khari. About how to doing well at the right eloquently instant for the trying to spare and telling do not follow them and take this opportunity that they rather to be the shit, but victims. So in the middle of the reality, I denounced praise, and that went to Interpol about persecutions and damages permanently, defamations and intent of robbery that were always naturally manipulated with a blowjob, with a very bribe in tribunales, and any exercise of killing shares about making less humanity market like Tribunales Argentina, Poder Judicial de la Nación, permanently done with Sodom-Gomorrah, Ejército Argentino, Policía Federal Argentina, Servicio de Inteligencia del Estado Argentino, Prefectura Naval Argentina, Gendarmería Nacional, and every degenerado of this land like permanently done and still does. So, in the middle of this all, went all over the doors of the sickness of this degenerada tierra, at the Paris and trying to recatados, to not be seen, and to hide them with the power, to making us whores, they all are, for the trying to acquiring what they needed. So in the middle of that all, we're recreating my life like tellers and like brujas, diablas, degeneradas, with them Sodom and Gomorrah, to trying to watch what will come about me, and profaning me permanently, like today turns to saying that it were them and not me, in all of the ways that could. Now, seplevech magpachim chalefachal bispot levisechta chalechim ablevisospenim red chaliti fogmosecha beblevesospat levisvid nichet chalikishkat platika rot chalechman levisoshevis nasim. Then at the reality of the soul happened to plek me revechum ablevisosharti. Gelechim erechman chalgimian. And naturally, where the BLAFFER chili before Mosechishvat, and Interpol kept on researching. The problem is, I have been under extortions and destructions. And the destructions are not exactly the will of El Chai about who I am, and neither its people. And where the cause evangelistas argentinos, na atzer pra amot, kem imad and simig, Sodom-Gomorrah Hitler, which placed the holy ones, the good ones, I don't you tell, we told you he uses drugs and also is bipolar and schizophrenic, the liars. Once the desires of this land is exactly that they, with this perras de cuarta, and brujas de cuarta, and perros de Sodom y Gomorrah, will conquer like Kirchner's government, supposed government of the world, which is exactly this, will ever simply be me in the heavens, saying that they strips me of my royalty, of my life in God, of my life in heaven, and everything and everyone on this land, every perro degenerado assignated, that they try to say, at this term I just said, assigned for the reality to taking a position in the government of the world, but rape and murdering, destroying people and murdering people, to taking license office, International Criminal Court, International Court of Justice, the governments of the whole of the states, state bodies, justice bodies, Israel, if they called US, each as nations of Europe, International Anti-Terrorism and War Council, state bodies, Interpol, and whatever institutions as the well we know, for they to say that that will be the government of the beast, that I will exercise and direct, and they will take from me each as things I have been cooperating and participating for the whole in this world, my supposed to living and needing medication supposedly. That they will take positions and making them supposed taking of the government of the world, that it will be what we are doing as states and justice bodies, and international courts as each as jurisdictions in the United Nations. At the point for the meaning is, they will make them government of the world in base of this. With perrazos evangelistas argentinos, each. All cooperating. Now, the reality is, I suppose they brought to the kingdom of heaven because of the diablos de mierda, the letters that has rights for. So are implacably demons ever after, and everyone dies like. And pretends then faith and using of powers will delimitate our existences, putting in us what they says got to be, which they are, the sickness and abominations, and they will make the switch pampari about keeping the body, keeping the sacrificial, keeping the destruction, because suppose they will get inside heaven and will be like God and like me. Now, the exercise of the obsession of Ejército and Armada Argentina is my capacity and ability for making the battle, my capacity for war, my capacity for destroy them, my power, and are obsessed to try to have it with them Nazi bodies over all of the world. The same evangelistas degenerados, telling that they must to control and they cannot let this to be and this to happen and I to be. Delivering gotta be them. Delivering they world. Instead me. Sepleve fachman sechal chimim, and in base of brujeria barata, delivering my terms will be the proper for the making happen. Like any bruja degenerada de Sodoma, antologic, at the bad term, are an ontology of the whole of the realities, humanity, and an ontology of God. Each as stems and them Sodom and Gomorrah, delivering, but profaning and making, suelta la palabra, en el nombre de Jesús, that will make it happen. The magical, mystic abomination of the talisman of the faith and the profaning anointment, non kidding, about to be the exercise of PAGAN, and pretends I to be the mystic, the lie, the living at the untrue and the false thing because of the most power, like profane pagan that generates in witches, them sensitivizing the weight of the abomination they wants to do, about profaning and using the in the name of, because of happens, and nothing happens except the profanation in name of Babel. Profaning the spirit of El Chai and mine. Whatever exploding of miracles all over. And each as times that happen, we're profaning people's powers. And whenever the most of the miracles in this nation were not at 1994, were at 1998, September, when I have been birthed. that the reality of the Ruach Elohim at this land were something like nobody could explain. And Anacondia with 10 bodies started to watching all around and watching what were happening and starting to say, we got to take the mantle. There are going to be miracles. And the brujas de mierda started making carrera that way and delivering like brujas degeneradas nazis, which are for them making carrera in base of profanation. This is Argentina Evangelista Cristiana. And it's what happened, and I'm going to show this as well. Because of word known about the real of El Jai, that no one associated and just left. Now, at the reality of this, for the truth and about the truth, and to putting obvious accent for this, we're exactly the same every day and every season. The reason why the testimony deflective of these opportunistic perras enfermas is exactly the need for what they were doing in the lying and the cheating about the spell of suppress in the name of Babel with the anointed stolen for the making the generations, which a lot of them associated all over the world are using to say that they will take opportunities and putting criminals at the work with this class of things for they to say that they will be associatedly making the chap and they will be the founder of all and taking money from it. Which Policía Federal Argentina, Gendarmería Nacional, Prefectura Naval Argentina, Ministerio de Seguridad, Policía de Seguridad Portuaria, and every perro degenerado evangélico y perro acá says to having registers with maricas Ejército Argentino. Forgive the terms. And in the middle of this reality, they will do to me, and I will be liar, because of they will be formidable, and they will be smartest and intelligentest, and they will be the proper ones to possessing my existence in a head who I am. Destroying me daily with witchcraft and profanations and abominations daily, each of this, the whole, y su maldita civilada degenerada. Now at the reality for this and to putting evidence and accent for this is exactly the BLAFFER Racine. And I went off of the wind for the getting into the brothel of the Pagicambita, Carnival, Praspaoba. And that sick degenerated turned to making worse and delirium with the very screen of the Blechmesim understanding Interpol went around. To not fall, for the making the eloquent, degenerate son of a snake, and profaning me and robbing me. I had to receiving for about $704,200 from the same state of US once I have been under extortions in the brothel of Osvaldo Carnival at 2003-2004, at the reality that the government of the United States of America delivered into that city bank, Central Buenos Aires, this amount that I should ever receive, that Osvaldo Carnival with a forgery of my signature went itself with Fabián González, Jorge Chabucian, Alejandro Santotasi, and Rossi. To Citibank to take in the money, saying that they were apoderados with my supposed permission and taken the money and kept it themselves. And after that, people that wanted to giving me the opportunity, go inside and pray to the Lord because of your deity. You got something. And forged my signature to robbing 20 properties, 20 houses, with Policía Federal Argentina, Comisaría 12, Central Policía Federal Argentina, Tribunales Argentina, and Aníbal Fernández. And the same 904 vehicles that people wanted to give me, and if there will be not the right thing to do, I will tell them with the whole of the embraceable love, and hugging them really so much, thankful for, and we will take the right decision to do, but I never taken no choice. Because of this what I will do. It's who I am. No esta clase de mierda. And the reality for this, in the forgery of my signature, Policía Federal Argentina kept on making the same permanently until today, and every day worse, because of all of armed forces, all of evangelicals has the forgery of my signature about the telling that each instance I have been working with states and justice bodies at my accounts, which are of the State of Israel, Lebron's property, as well, patrimony, that it will be them forging and saying that I robbed them, and they will do first at the corruption of framed PRMT registers, Argentina, UNASUR, and World, where the bodies are, to telling that it were them to try to push at the murder Jewish to taking companies and all that Guillermo Pérez were doing, permanently. And sending to rape and murder, declaring that off of them ain't not going to be nothing acceptable or admissible for no God, and nothing to possess of them. Nabucodonosor, with them Sodom-GOMORRAH, which also pretends to reproduce my words, telling that they says and not me, and making reference about what they are, about my person. Jewish is the reality of herre, and I, Jewish, Eliyah, Alejandro Blanco, Redemi. Now what the reality for this, in BLAFFER Mosechal Chelikivi, Refechua Blevesostechal, Remaplekime Refechua Blechtechim, Con's word, and I'm sorry the violence quote, again, in terms which not so much proper some. Spleve forum fechal kivivam, splevis foros chelivishmaim, Roplekim Barefechol Blevis Patlevis Sostevish Fasim. You give me a moment. Keeps on recording. So it is. So plafel ref gelachpim, so plafel vas beshelech remplafech motzachalekim, revosh valetika baracham, sia pleves politika tredachelech hishpok machal chuam, implotes plevi favor chelkivi sosleki baran chal chimitim. Steple vefechot chal shechil kabarach al chama plevisos maran ramim. In steple vefechot shechal kav, ample vefechot chelikim irov fashvo, blimbas plevis potletikal rem chavach machal chivi plevisosim. Ishko plevefechot chalekav rat chelivisu at levis potletim. Rosh kelikamarach chal chivi plevisos tevish potlevefechot chalachmam, en plevi karach chalivishovesasim. Argentina is irremissibly death, except for victims. Argentina is irremissibly condemned, except for victims. Argentina is abomination, except for victims. And I am not going to carry that shit, because if I didn't do that, but Argentina itself. And the reality is simple, herre neither, because of Argentina had will. And the will is clear in his conscience. And I am not gonna bear no shit. Let's herre. Now, so pleve foram fechalkim, refechoa pleve sos levisashel, gilactica refechot chalivis pa pleve forum sechma an rat chilivis concheva, which starts to keep on making the same. Obsessed degenerados criminales de guarda. So pleve forum sechalkini plave soslevi parpa kal chamavam, se pleves porov chalivis sot levis anshleki baran chalim, am pleves poratika redachta chal chishvovem. And consequent the word and says, Febleran chevies tevesh levim bat letir rameforo vecha, impa pleves vat pleves ti beshkat blaravim. Si ilika. Seclua refogot chelekishvat la kimirat chal mosmos masimi, aple vefechat chilika tesh evespo. Adlet chnetchev, chumam, stem apim omoti, stesh evluat, shnimishem. Aple vefechma sechal kimi rochal vesofat lika maron shman, implatilita. Ingleve forot chelpi pace atechma chalam. In blevefechot chalibi porov chalivisos masimi. Incompletica. Stle porov fachat chalikim mirov achush batlevim. Reblefech batlakim acharefechot chalichem batleviforosh batila. Slekim acharefechlim. And that's to say that I am the liar, and I am the criminal, and I am the perjurer, and I am the producer, and I will be the slanderer, and I will be the tanager, and I will be the destructible, and I will be the felloner, and I will be the criminal, and they are the shit, they says about me. Each of them. Forging and making the endorsement, we command here, we're the government. And comes the word again and says, EVANGELICAL mivish vapleve forum ferre divis ostejam faadlik het chaviba vepadistisch edikha abot stelisha licham rofti stigele chevab. And comes Chai and says, La vlevat borov chaldipa pelpapacha Sepleve fachman sechalkivi blavestoat shelavis partakim. Repla fachma tsipa blevesoshoa blevispa. Ratria ansefure. Sheplefecha. Impla foroste. Calforom. Finra. Impleves parti chamatzi. Aple rupti kiviti. Itseshkel kiviti. Replachman roptia. Avestefa atse rocha. Nansma. Ishablivias. Hoptiva rupla vi Argentina. Impa plevesi unasur. Reple fechenias te sopaf. Redfegi Ejército Argentino, Armada Argentina, Fuerzas Armadas Argentinas, Ministerio de Seguridad, de Defensa, de Salud, de Desarrollo Social, de Justicia, queridos de Derechos Humanos, de Ciencia y Tecnología, en IT'S degenerados, en tribunales, Poder Judicial de la Nación Argentina, Cuerpo de Forenses, Gobierno de la Ciudad, en IT'S degenerados. And hold them civil. Bentle Rafech Machlehim Mesechalim with your SODOM-GOMORRAH, Babel and Ramavima, Egypt, Foplechavit Remefachalilav, Ansheplovit Varmasechalivit, Stepa Shelak Dikat Redacha, Farcha, in Foplevis Varmati, Seshela Ramit, in Maria, Maatsash, Kapfacha. Divinita stebot, ishtiva kivat atot shala. HTTPS DPIDM-18 plafal anrevav plevis potlakimirin Spoplevi PROFECY vechmatlaki merovas vasha, papleki berevefechua blevisot levis machatech machal, blevi formatsachal kivi rofechal visosne blevisosim plaktika, replach michava fechol chava blevisochmaki, replafechot chalili visofesh vachlachimi. Di plaves bat di patlekam, revefechol chalikimarim, im plaves pochol lachimi rad chalivisosheves vasim. Gim besechman nidol sismidol klikarim, binstov 16.IT have fired all the last informatic tools systems for God. While degenerados perrazos criminales, Policía Federal Argentina, Fuerzas Armadas CIDE, delivering this also brought this video, the prophecy and the reality, and overflying demons of them, diablo de porquería, profaning, telling that they takes my prophet gift. With them evangelical diablos, profaning. This land is condemned ever after and in hell, with them whole breed, and this perros